React server components have a big problem because people just don't really understand how they work and why they might want to use them. So let's take a look at that. And to get started, we should probably first of all take a look at how a normal React app would interact with the server. So the client would first of all go to the server and request some HTML and JavaScript. The server would then respond with that HTML and JavaScript. After that, the client now has some JavaScript that will probably do some fetch calls. So the client will once again ask the server for some data. The server then goes ahead over to the database to get that data, it's returned, and then the server can return it to the client, and the client can update its local version of your React code. And for server components, this looks really similar. So we go to the server because we want our site to be fetched, of course. But now the server goes through the logic of the React component and basically executes it. So let's just say the component wants some data from the database. Then it will tell the server to fetch that data. The data will then be returned. The server can now build the whole component with that data, and only after that is done, the server can now return that data to the client as pure HTML. Sure, there might be some JavaScript in there for client-side logic like interactive buttons or whatever, but the data fetching part is now outsourced through the server. So the client doesn't need to do multiple fetch calls, which can be really helpful for distances, etc. And the server basically does the whole rendering logic for you. And if you just take a look at a little example, you can see this is an async component with top level await that awaits data from a database using Prisma. This would normally never be possible with normal components that run on the client. And that's the case because this component only runs on the server. So if we look at our browser, we can see here's the data. If we reload, we of course get the data as well. And if we now just disable JavaScript real quick and reload again, we can see that we still get that data, even though hydration or whatever couldn't take place. And that's because this doesn't need to be hydrated. It's pure HTML that's just put into the page by the server. It's amazing. And to really hammer this down, we'll just go ahead and console.log a few numbers in here whenever the page is rendered. Then just re-render right here and open up our IDE again. We can see here it was logged, and here in the console there is nothing. So this component only runs on the server and not on the client. And that's basically the whole magic behind server components. They can fetch data for you, and before you get any HTML, you will already have the data you need from the database or whatever other source you need. And you can of course combine this with client logic as well using useClient. And that's exactly where the next problem lies, because this useClient bit is Next.js. So where does Next.js start and where do server components end? How do I differentiate that? And that's the big problem that people still have, because server components are only really production ready in Next.js yet. So it's hard to tell what is built by the Next.js team and what's actual server component logic. And I can't really tell you because we haven't seen any other implementations yet. But what I can tell you is that server components are really amazing for directly giving data to your client, and that they really improve workflows immensely, especially with server actions coming up in Next.js, which are still in beta. And if you're now interested in learning more about server components and server actions, maybe check out this video where I'll show you how to use these new Next.js 13 features in your apps. Have a good day.